Hello one and all, and welcome once again to another edition of How I Would Book It WCW 1998. This is another episode of Monday Nitro. We are officially 1 week away from uncensored, live, on pay-per-view, where we will see I apologize, we're 2 weeks away. We're not 1 week, we're 2 weeks away from the pay-per-view. 2 weeks. But tonight, either way, we got surprised as we start off the show with a Cruiserweight title match. A Cruiserweight title match, and Ultimo Dragon coming out on top, surprising everyone, defeating the current Cruiserweight champion, the Ultimo Rey Mysterio Jr. for the Cruiserweight title, right in the middle of the ring, which showing anything can happen on Nitro, including a random title change. Now we move to the next segment, which is another video of Goldberg highlighting, much like last week, highlighting his domination thus far in the streak, with the streak, and I guess you could say how he's been unlike anybody else that to ever step foot in WCW, how dominant he's been, and it shows, and we show it, put it on display in the video. And now we move to the next segment, which is a match between Raven and Chris Benoit, which Raven is victorious following Chris Benoit's spontaneous enemy, Chris Jericho, who's been hungry to get another shot at Chris Benoit's title, the television title, since he fought Benoit for it last month at Super Brawl. But to no avail. Until now, he might have gotten Benoit's attention. In all honesty, I would give Raven this segment to unscripted. I would have been disappointed by the rating, and I am disappointed by the rating, but fact of the matter is, Raven is normally supposed to be good, and he just had an off night. But what I would tell him to write about, or tell him to talk about, the direction I would give him is talk about Kimberly. Talk about DDP's wife, Kimberly, and how Kimberly did that magazine last year that was integrated into DDP's past, and now it's coming back because it's something DDP will never be able to forget. How his wife is a you put two and two together, what you think he might have said. Let me know in the comment section below what you think Raven said at the end of that promo. What did he call Kimberly? Let me know in the comment section. What do you guys think? Now we move to the next segment. The announcers: Mike Today, Bobby Heenan, and Mike Today, Bobby Heenan, and Mike Today. Mike Today, Bobby Heenan, and Tony Schiavone talk about what happened last week with Bret the Hitman Hart, and the fact that Bret Hart quit WCW. And, well, let's put it this way. Bobby doesn't think Bret will be back. Mike does, as he thinks Bret just needs to cool off, and Tony thinks that Bret went too far and might have overreacted and may not be able to turn back. But all you have to do is stay tuned in to find out what happens with Bret Hart. Does he come back? Now we move to the next match, which is a match between two guys that very rarely actually compete on Nitro, and that is the Giant and Steve Mongo McMichael. Now you might be thinking, Mongo just competed last week in a triple threat match. You're right, but that was only his second match on Nitro in 1998. And this was also the Giant's second match on Nitro, his first win. But either way, Giant gets the win against Steve Mongo McMichael. Now we move to our first interview of the night, which is with Gene Okerlund as he catches the Giant before he leaves the ring. And he asks the Giant what he thinks about Mike Awesome targeting him to, as he said, do what Kevin Nash couldn't, and that's slay the Giant. Gene, I've had a ton of people try and knock me down. All have failed. Mike Awesome, I am the largest athlete in the WCW. You can't beat me. I'll be sending you back to Japan in a box with your lackey Vincent. You will regret your decision to try and take me out, 'cause it ain't gonna happen. As the Giant finishes, Gene is being told in his earpiece that that a fight broke out backstage, and the fight that broke out backstage was between Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho. As Benoit seems to have wanted to seek revenge on Jericho for costing Benoit his match earlier tonight against Raven, and these two are going at it until a host of road agents and staff pull them apart, separating them from injuring each other, from continuing to separating them before they try and injure each other further. And now we move back to the broadcast position as Mike Tenay, Bobby Heenan, and Tony Schiavone share their thoughts on that backstage brawl that we just saw between Benoit and Jericho, and where that feud might be going from here. Now we move on as Mike Awesome. You heard him earlier in the show. You heard the Giant talk about him earlier in the show. Mike Awesome against Davey Boy Smith. And Mike Awesome once again gets the victory and shows how dominant he can be and how dominant he has been since coming into WCW, even though it's only been 2 matches. As you saw previous, I didn't mention it because it was just him coming out to the ring with other NWO members. The other NWO members were Kurt Hennig, Rick Rude, Vincent, Buff Bagwell, Scott Norton. Scratch that. No, it was just Rick Rude, Kurt Hennig, and Eric. Kurt Hennig does not say a word. Rick Rude does not say a word. It is just Eric Bischoff, and Eric Bischoff shoots on Bret Hart. He would say something to the effect of, Bret Hart, you want to know what happened to Kurt Hennig? You want to know what happened to the guy who came out here and shook your hand and acted like he was your friend? Bret, I got to him, Bret. We in the NWO talked some sense into Kurt Hennig, which made him realize you are not the best in WCW. Hollywood Hogan is the best in WCW. And he proves it every single time he gets into that ring. You're not a loss, Bret. The only thing that was lost is your contract with this company. You don't provide a hole, and you most certainly will not be missed. Because you were never anything to WCW anyway. Hollywood Hogan is the best there is, the best there was, and the best that there ever will be. And before Eric can continue, the Horseman theme song, a familiar theme song, interrupts Eric, but he doesn't know what it is until he sees a familiar face ascend from behind the curtain. And that familiar face is former Horseman member, Tully Blanchard, who shocks everybody, including the announcers, who are stunned by the fact that Tully Blanchard is actually on Nitro. And now we come out, and Tully Blanchard stands in the ring and announces that he is the new authority figure of WCW, taking over for J.J. Dillon, who chose to step down as president of the Championship Committee. And now Tully Blanchard says his first act as president of the WCW Championship Committee is to make a #1 contender fatal 4-way match for the WCW World Heavyweight title to determine the #1 contender for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship at Uncensored. And the competitors in this 4-way match are Hollywood Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, Diamond Dallas Page, and the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Now we move to the streak match, which is Goldberg against Disco Inferno, and Goldberg once again feasts on his prey and makes it look easy. Now we move to a short segment with Sting and Gene Okerlund, where Gene Okerlund asks Sting what he thinks about the #1 contender match tonight, and all Sting says is, "You know something, Gene? I haven't really been doing much, but I'm a fighting champion, and I am willing to defend my title against anyone that the WCW Championship Committee decides to put in front of me, and I will send them packing just like I've done to everyone else." And now we move back to the announcers one more time, with Mike Today, Bobby Heenan, and Tony Schiavone talking about the importance of the main event tonight between Hogan, Flair, Diamond Dallas Page, and Kevin Nash, where the winner, and how important it is that the winner is the one who becomes #1 contender and will challenge Sting at Uncensored for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. And also how they drill home the point that the winner is the person who gets the first pinfall or submission, because one pinfall or submission wins the match, and that man becomes #1 contender. And yes, the #1 contender for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship in a solid match is Hollywood Hulk Hogan, who won a match that featured great heat from the audience and great wrestling action, or good wrestling action, as Hogan defeats Ric Flair after Sid Vicious distracts Flair. After Sid Vicious distracts Flair, comes down to ringside and distracts Flair, while both Page and Kevin were distracted with each other. And Sting, following the match, Sting comes out on the Flair, Kevin, and DDP roll out of the shot. Sting and Hogan come into. Sting comes onto the stage, and faces off with Hogan, who's still in the ring, and that's how the show Nitro goes off the air, with Sting holding up the WCW World Heavyweight title high above his head, pointing his bat towards Hogan, and Hogan looking intimidated. I don't know why the camera actually turned, so I apologize. I didn't notice. After a minor comeback last week, we hit a major number this week, or a major comeback this week, as we actually are starting. Hopefully, this means that we are actually starting to come back and recoup some fans after losing a lot over a 3-week period a couple weeks ago. So hopefully things are going to start taking off and getting under control. I don't really know how to phrase it in layman's terms, or in general. I don't really know how to phrase it. Other than this show is one of the best shows we've done in the last month, and hopefully this is the start of things to come. If you agree, let me know what you think of the show. Let me know what you thought of the show in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel for more unique content just like this that you can only find right here on Wrestling Express. Thanks for joining me. Till next time. Later.